My sister took a $120,000 loan in our parents' names using their house as collateral. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Here's how I saved their home and exposed everything. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing something like this. I'm a 31-year-old guy with what I always believed was a normal family. Not perfect, but normal. My parents are 68 and 65, both retired, living in the same house they've owned for 37 years. It's a modest place in a quiet neighborhood, nothing fancy, but it's theirs. Paid off. Their one real asset, worth around $310,000. My older sister is 36. She's always had bad luck with men. That's how my parents described it, anyway. Bad luck. Looking back now, I think it was less about luck and more about choices. But I didn't say that out loud. You don't say things like that about family. Her current boyfriend is the worst of them all. He's 39, has never held a stable job for more than 6 months, and always has some new business idea that's going to change everything. Crypto. Drop shipping. A sports betting system. A food truck. Each one required investment. Each one failed. My sister works as a receptionist at a dental office. She makes okay money, enough to live on, but her boyfriend drains everything. Every paycheck goes to his dreams, his plans, his next big thing. I warned her. Multiple times. Sat her down at Christmas 2 years ago and said, "This guy is using you. He doesn't contribute anything. He takes and you keep giving." She looked at me like I'd insulted her child. "You don't understand him. He's going to make it big. You'll see." I stopped trying after that. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. At least, that's what I thought the lesson was. I didn't know yet that she'd find a way to drag everyone else down with her. The discovery. It was a Sunday in late September. The kind of crisp fall day that makes you want to drive with the windows down, leaves just starting to turn gold and orange. I drove over to my parents' house for dinner, same as I do most weeks. It's a 30-minute drive from my apartment, and I've been making it almost every Sunday for the past 5 years, ever since I moved back to the area after college. My mom makes pot roast. My dad complains about the news. We eat too much, watch whatever game is on, and I help with the dishes before heading home. Normal stuff. Comfortable stuff. The kind of routine you take for granted because you assume it will always be there. But this time, something was wrong. I could feel it the moment I pulled into the driveway. My dad's car was in its usual spot, but the garage door was open, unusual because my father is meticulous about keeping it closed. When I walked up to the front door, I noticed the screen door wasn't latched properly. Small things. Wrong things. Inside, the house was quiet. No TV on. No music. Just silence, heavy and thick. I found them in the kitchen. My dad was sitting at the kitchen table, not in his usual spot in the living room recliner. He had papers spread out in front of him, arranged in neat rows like he was trying to solve a puzzle. His face was gray, not pale, but gray, like something vital had drained out of him. My mom was at the stove, stirring something in a pot that I later realized was empty. Just stirring air. Her eyes were red and swollen. She'd been crying for a while. "What's going on?" I asked. My voice sounded too loud in that quiet house. My dad looked up at me. In my entire life, I'd never seen my father look scared. Frustrated, sure. Tired, yes. But scared? Never. Until that moment. "We need your help," he said. "Something's wrong. We don't understand what's happening." They showed me the letter. It was from a bank I'd never heard of, some regional mortgage company. The letter said they were 7 months behind on payments for a loan. A loan for $120,000. My parents were confused and terrified. "We never took any loan," my mom kept saying. "We've never even heard of this bank. The house is paid off. We don't understand." I looked at the documents more carefully. The loan was taken out 14 months ago. My parents' house was listed as collateral. The signatures on the application looked like my dad's handwriting. But my dad swore, with tears in his eyes, that he'd never signed anything. Then I saw the name of the notary who had witnessed the signatures. I recognized it. A woman who'd gone to high school with my sister. They'd been friends. Not close, but friends. The kind of friend who might do a favor if you asked. That's when everything clicked. She had access to everything. Social security cards. Bank statements. The deed to the house. We gave her access because she's family. She used it to steal $120,000. The investigation. I didn't sleep that night. Not a single minute. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through possibilities, explanations, scenarios. By 3 a.m., I'd given up on sleep entirely and started making lists. Evidence I needed. Questions that needed answers. Steps to take. I contacted the bank first thing Monday morning, called at 8:01 a.m., the minute their customer service line opened. After being transferred 4 times and spending nearly 2 hours on hold, I finally reached someone in their document retrieval department. I requested the full loan documentation under the premise that I was helping my elderly parents understand their accounts. They agreed to send it within a week. True to their word, the documents arrived 6 days later in a thick manila envelope. I spread them out on my dining room table and went through them page by page, line by line. The application had my parents' information. Social security numbers, correct. Bank account details, correct, down to the routing numbers. Employment history, correct, showing my dad's 32 years at the manufacturing plant and his retirement date. Tax returns from the previous 3 years, correct. Income statements, slightly inflated, but close enough to seem legitimate. Whoever filled this out knew everything. This wasn't some random identity thief working from stolen data. This was someone with intimate access. Someone who had held these documents in their hands. I remembered something then. 2 years ago, right around the time my sister and her boyfriend started getting serious, she had offered to help my parents organize their important documents. She'd pitched it as a favor, something she wanted to do because she cared about them. "You guys have papers everywhere," she'd said at dinner one night. "What if something happened and we couldn't find anything? Let me help you get organized." She spent a whole weekend at their house, going through their filing cabinets, making copies for emergencies, creating a spreadsheet of all their accounts, bank accounts, retirement funds, insurance policies, the deed to the house. She scanned documents and saved them to a thumb drive. She photographed signature pages. My parents were grateful. They called her thoughtful. They bragged to relatives about how responsible their daughter was, how she was looking out for them in their old age. She was building a target file. I checked the date the loan was taken out. October 15th of the previous year. 1 month after my sister's boyfriend announced his newest venture, some kind of e-commerce platform that was guaranteed to make millions. He needed $100,000 in startup capital. He was certain investors would come flooding in once he could show proof of concept. $120,000. That's what she gave a man who can't hold a job for 6 months. A man who drives a nice car but owns nothing. She handed him our parents' house and called it love. I had the signature analyzed by a professional document examiner. The verdict, consistent with my father's handwriting but with notable tremors and hesitation marks inconsistent with genuine signatures. In other words, forged. Carefully forged, but forged. There was no more room for doubt. The confrontation. I drove to my sister's apartment on a Wednesday evening. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that I barely noticed. My hands were steady on the steering wheel, my mind clear and focused. I'd spent 3 days preparing for this conversation, running through every possible response, every excuse she might offer. Her apartment was in a decent complex on the east side of town, not luxury, but nicer than what a receptionist's salary should afford. I'd never thought about that before. Now I realized it was probably furnished with money from the loan. Stolen money. My parents' money. She answered the door in sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt, looking exhausted. Her hair was unwashed, pulled back in a messy ponytail. Dark circles under her eyes. Her boyfriend wasn't home, probably out spending money that wasn't his. "Hey," she said, surprised to see me. "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said. "Can I come in?" I sat at her kitchen table and laid it all out. The loan documents, copies, because I wasn't stupid enough to hand over evidence. The notary's name and her connection to my sister. The timeline showing my sister's access to the documents and the loan's proximity to her boyfriend's business announcement. The signature analysis from the document examiner. Someone took out a loan in Mom and Dad's names, I said. Someone who had access to all their personal information. Someone who knew a notary willing to help forge signatures. I gave her one chance to tell me the truth. First, she denied everything. Her eyes went wide, her voice climbing in pitch. "I don't know what you're talking about. Someone must have stolen their information. Maybe a data breach or something." I just waited. Let the silence stretch. Then the tears started. Big, dramatic sobs that shook her whole body. She talked about how hard her life was, how nobody understood the pressure she was under, how her relationship was complicated and I couldn't possibly understand. I waited through that too. Then, finally, when she realized that crying wasn't going to make me go away, She admitted it. "I was going to pay it back," she said through her tears. "The business was supposed to work. He promised me it would work. I was going to fix it before they noticed. They were never supposed to know." "They noticed," I said, my voice flat. "The bank is going to take their house in 90 days. Mom hasn't stopped crying since they got the letter. Dad looks like he's aged 10 years. She broke down completely then. The whole story came out in fragments. Her boyfriend convinced her that his e-commerce business was a sure thing. They just needed capital. She didn't have any money, but she had access to something better, her parents' home equity. She said she was going to pay it back. 14 months. 7 months of missed payments. She wasn't paying anything back. She was just hoping no one would notice until it was too late. The business failed within 3 months. The money evaporated. He bought equipment, rented warehouse space, hired contractors, all of it pointless. Within 90 days, there was nothing left except debt and broken promises. She'd been trying to make the minimum payments since then, scraping together what she could from her receptionist's salary, but she was falling further and further behind. Now she was $48,000 behind, and the bank had started the foreclosure process. My mother cried for 3 days straight. Not about the money. About her daughter. She kept asking, where did we fail her? They didn't fail anyone. She failed them. The boyfriend. I went to see him 3 days later. I needed to look him in the eye. I needed to understand. He was living in a nice apartment complex on the north side of town. Gated entrance, landscaped grounds, the kind of place that advertises luxury living on its signs. His unit was on the 2nd floor, overlooking a swimming pool that probably cost more to maintain than my monthly rent. I knocked. He opened the door wearing designer jeans and a polo shirt, barefoot, holding what looked like an expensive whiskey. Behind him, I could see a new TV on the wall, one of those massive curved screens that cost a few $1,000s. New leather furniture. A gaming setup that could have bought a used car. Nice stuff for a guy who supposedly lost everything when his business went under. He recognized me immediately. And he smiled. Not a friendly smile, a knowing one, like he already knew why I was there and found it amusing. Like this was a scene he'd played before and knew all the lines. "Your sister's choices aren't my problem," he said before I could even speak. "You knew where that money came from." He leaned against the doorframe, casual as anything, taking a sip of his whiskey. "She offered it to me. I didn't force her to do anything. I didn't hold a gun to her head. She wanted to help me build something. Business didn't work out. That happens all the time in the startup world. Not my problem your family can't handle their finances." The boyfriend looked me in the eye and said, "Not my problem. He's living on stolen money in a nice apartment and it's not his problem. My parents can't sleep at night and he bought a new TV." "My parents are going to lose their house," I said. "They're 68 and 65 years old. They've lived there for 37 years. And you're telling me it's not your problem?" He shrugged. Actually shrugged, like I'd told him it might rain later. Life's tough. Maybe they should have been more careful about what their daughter had access to. Sounds like a parenting problem to me. I wanted to hit him. I've never wanted to hit someone so badly in my life. My hands were shaking, my jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. But I didn't. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction, wouldn't give him grounds for a police report or a lawsuit. Instead, I just looked at him. Memorized his face. The smirk. The casual cruelty. The complete absence of anything resembling conscience. "I'll see you soon," I said and walked away. I realized then that he'd known exactly what my sister did. He probably coached her through it. Found the notary. Explained how to access the equity. He used her, completely and deliberately, and when the money ran out, he just moved on. Emotionally checked out while still enjoying the lifestyle her crime had bought him. She let herself be used. And my parents were paying the price. Update 1. Assessing the damage. I spent the next week calculating exactly how bad things were. The numbers. Original loan amount, $120,000 missed payments and accumulated fees. $48,000 total owed to make the loan current, $168,000. Available resources. My parents' retirement savings, $23,000 my personal savings, $41,000 my sister's savings, approximately $4,000 boyfriend's assets, nothing in his name, everything is borrowed or registered to other people. Total available, $68,000. Even if we liquidated everything, we'd still be $100,000 short. The bank wanted full payment or they'd proceed with foreclosure in 90 days. My parents could lose everything, the house they'd lived in for nearly 4 decades, their entire retirement security, because their daughter handed it to a con artist. Dad asked me if we have to send her to jail. His own daughter stole his house and he's worried about her. That's the difference between them and her. They'd give her anything. She just took. I knew then that we needed help. Real, professional help. Update 2. The legal strategy. I found an attorney who specialized in elder financial abuse. When I walked into her office with my folder of evidence, the loan documents, the signature analysis, the timeline showing my sister's access to the documents, the notary's connection, she looked through everything and said one word. Criminal. This wasn't a family dispute. This wasn't a civil matter we could settle quietly. This was fraud. Elder fraud, specifically, which carried enhanced penalties. The notary was her high school friend. She planned this. Got a friend to help forge documents. This wasn't desperation, this was a scheme. My sister ran a scheme on our parents. The attorney laid out our options. Option 1. File a police report and press charges against my sister. Use the evidence of fraud to challenge the validity of the loan itself. Option 2. Present the fraud evidence to the bank's fraud department and attempt to negotiate. Banks don't want the publicity of foreclosing on elderly fraud victims. Option 3. Sue my sister and her boyfriend for damages in civil court. Her recommendation. All 3, simultaneously. The criminal charges would establish the fraud legally. The bank negotiation would potentially void the loan. The civil suit would attempt to recover whatever assets could be found. It was the nuclear option. It meant potentially sending my sister to prison. It meant the end of our family as I knew it. But the alternative was watching my parents lose their home. Update 3. The battle begins. The hardest conversation of my life wasn't with my sister. It was with my parents. I sat them down and explained everything. The fraud. The forgery. The legal options. I told them that to save their house, we'd probably have to press charges against their daughter. My mother cried. My father sat in silence for a long time. She's still our daughter, my mom whispered. I know, I said. But she's also the person who forged Dad's signature and put your house up as collateral for her boyfriend's fantasy. If we don't fight back, you'll lose everything. And she won't even be sorry, she'll just be glad she got away with it. My parents agreed. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. But they agreed. I filed the police report the next day. I provided everything, the documents, the signature analysis, the timeline, the notary connection. The detective I spoke with said it was one of the most well-documented cases of elder fraud he'd ever seen. Usually, these cases were hard to prove. This one had a paper trail a mile long. Simultaneously, I contacted the bank's fraud department. I sent them the same documentation I'd given the police. I explained that my parents were victims, not borrowers. That the signatures were forged. That the notary was personally connected to the person who benefited from the fraud. The bank took it seriously. They launched their own investigation. Within 2 weeks, they found irregularities in the notary's records, inconsistencies in the signatures, and false information on the loan application about my parents' income and assets. They had a choice: pursue foreclosure and face a lawsuit from defrauded elderly victims, or work with our family to resolve the situation. Update 4. The pressure mounts. The police investigation moved faster than I expected. My sister was brought in for questioning within a month of my report. She was facing serious charges: forgery, fraud, identity theft, and elder financial abuse. In our state, elder financial abuse is a felony with enhanced penalties. She was looking at potential prison time. I expected her to keep protecting her boyfriend. I expected her to take the fall alone. I was wrong. Faced with the reality of criminal charges, my sister finally broke. She turned on him completely. She gave the police everything: text messages, emails, bank transfers. Evidence that showed he wasn't just a passive beneficiary of the fraud. He was the mastermind. The texts were damning. Messages where he told her exactly how to access her parents' documents. Where he reassured her that old people don't check this stuff, and, by the time anyone notices, we'll be rich. Where he outlined the business plan that justified the theft. Even worse, the police found that he'd done this before. 2 ex-girlfriends in other states. Similar patterns. Convincing vulnerable women to take out loans, access credit, leverage family assets. Then disappearing when the money ran out, leaving them holding the bag. My sister was a mark. A useful idiot. A tool he used and discarded. It didn't absolve her. She still made the choice. She still forged the signatures. She still betrayed our parents. But I understood, finally, how it had happened. She wasn't purely evil. She was weak, desperate for love, willing to do anything to keep a man who made her feel special. It didn't make it better, but it made it make sense. Update 5. Resolution. The legal process took 8 months total. Here's how it ended. The bank, faced with clear evidence of fraud and the prospect of negative publicity, major bank forecloses on elderly fraud victims. Not a great headline. They agreed to void the loan entirely. No payment required. My parents' house was free and clear again. My sister, she pleaded guilty to reduced charges as part of a deal with prosecutors. The full charges could have meant years in prison. Instead, she received 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and a court order to pay restitution. The restitution amount was set at $8,000, what she could realistically pay over time. A fraction of what was taken, but something. The boyfriend, he was charged with conspiracy to commit fraud. The investigation uncovered the warrants in other states. He was extradited, tried, and is currently serving 4 years in prison with additional charges pending. Justice, such as it was served. But here's the thing about justice that nobody tells you. It doesn't undo anything. It doesn't heal anything. It just ends things. Final update. The aftermath. It's been 6 months since the legal matters were resolved. I want to tell you that everything is better now. I want to tell you that my family healed, that we moved on, that the story has a happy ending. I can't tell you that. Christmas was at my parents' house this year. First one since everything happened. Same house. Same decorations. Same tree in the corner by the window where it's been every year for as long as I can remember. My sister wasn't there. That was my parents' choice, not mine. I would have let them decide either way. They decided they weren't ready. Maybe they never will be. I sat in the living room after dinner, looking at the walls, the furniture, the photos on the mantel. Everything was the same. But nothing was the same. My mom keeps looking at the door. I've noticed it. Every time there's a noise outside, every time a car drives by, she glances toward the entrance like she's expecting someone. My dad barely talks anymore. He used to tell stories at dinner, long, rambling tales about his years working at the factory, about the funny things that happened to his buddies. Now he just eats quietly and stares at his plate. We saved the house. Every wall, every room, still here. But it's not the same house anymore. It's the house where daughter betrayed parents. Where trust was broken. Where family ended. We won the legal battle. We lost something bigger. My sister is alive, living in an apartment across town with a roommate. She kept her job at the dental office. They never found out about the charges. She's paying her restitution, following the terms of her probation. By all external measures, she's being responsible. She may as well be on another planet. My parents don't talk about her. Don't mention her name. When her birthday passed last month, nobody acknowledged it. Her photos are still on the walls. My parents haven't taken them down, but nobody looks at them. Sometimes, when I visit, I catch my mom looking at old photo albums. Pictures from when we were kids. Birthday parties and beach vacations and Christmas mornings. She doesn't know I see her. She flips through the pages slowly, touching the photographs like they're artifacts from another life. She didn't just lose money. She lost her daughter. Some thefts you can reverse. Some things, once taken, never come back. People ask if I'll ever forgive my sister. I don't know. I've thought about it a lot. Forgiveness is for people who are sorry. She's sorry she got caught. She's sorry the boyfriend left her. He did, the moment the legal trouble started, just vanished, didn't even say goodbye. She's sorry her life fell apart. But I've never heard her say, "I'm sorry I hurt Mom and Dad." Not once. Not during the confrontation, not during the legal proceedings, not in the months since. She's apologized for the inconvenience. She's apologized for the stress. She's apologized for the situation. She's never apologized for the betrayal. Until I hear those words, and believe she means them, there's nothing to forgive. Just a stranger who looks like someone I used to know. Someone who sat at our Christmas table for 36 years. Someone who knew where Mom keeps the photo albums and where Dad hides birthday presents. Someone who used all that knowledge to steal from them. You can't unknow someone, but you can learn who they really are. I learned. I wish I hadn't. A final note. If you're reading this and you have family members who seem too eager to help with finances, who want access to documents, just in case, who have partners with big dreams and empty wallets, pay attention. Trust but verify. Love doesn't mean blind faith. My parents trusted their daughter because that's what parents do. And she betrayed them because that's who she turned out to be. Some people will tell you that family is everything. That blood is thicker than water. That you have to forgive because that's what families do. I'll tell you something different. Family is just people. People can be good or bad, loyal or treasonous, loving or cruel. The accident of shared DNA doesn't change that. Protect the ones who deserve protection. Fight for the ones who would fight for you. And if someone shows you who they really are, even if that someone shares your last name, believe them. My parents' house still stands. The mortgage is clear. The deed is in their names alone now, with additional protections in place. They're safe. But safety isn't the same as happiness. And a house isn't the same as a home. We saved the building. What lived inside it, the trust, the warmth, the sense that family meant something, that's gone. Some battles you win. Some victories feel like losses. This was both. Edit. Thank you all for the support and the awards. To everyone who shared similar stories, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we're part of this terrible club. To those asking for legal advice, please consult an attorney in your jurisdiction. And to the handful of people defending my sister or saying I should have handled this differently, I hope you never have to make the choice I made. I hope you never have to look at your parents' faces and tell them that to save their home, you have to destroy their family. I hope your trust is never betrayed by someone who was supposed to love you unconditionally. But if it ever is, I hope you find the strength to do what needs to be done, even when it breaks your heart. TLDR, sister forged parent signatures on a $120,000 loan using their house as collateral to fund her deadbeat boyfriend's failed business. Bank started foreclosure. I gathered evidence, filed police reports, negotiated with the bank. Loan was voided, sister got probation, boyfriend got prison. Parents kept their house but lost their daughter. Family is destroyed. We won and lost at the same time.